You can see how a door this wide opening would be very awkward. So we don't want to do that. If you can step up here, you can actually see the pan. The sheet metal pan is the sides, the bottom, 6 inches deep. So this whole thing sits in the water, really. Whatever it takes to cover the heating element by an inch. The gray wood, or gray material, is all the plastic wood, and you can see it. I put a piece of wood up here, basically because I knew that's going to be furthest away from the water, and it's all been linseed oiled. And then I faced the whole cabinet with 2x4s because it's a good solid thing to hold the hinges. It's also a good straight piece of wood, and they are also treated with linseed oil, so they're not going to be rotting out anytime soon. You'll see what happens to metal, just regular, even galvanized, zinc coated.
And by the way, this is the Cadillac version. The last version was way more ramshackle. You can make these pretty darn ramshackle and they still work. You don't have to be a crackerjack builder.
What kind of wood is that?
This was probably yellow pine, is my guess.
This is the only oddball installation. This is the polyisocyanurate. There's a foil face on the bottom, a foil face on the top, which you can't see, and then the core foam. Everything else is this stuff. I mean, this is older because I didn't want to buy new everything. Same stuff, but just a different color. That's a new sheet. Ends are insulated, the door is insulated, the bottom part of the door is insulated, so the whole thing is completely insulated all around. That's a Rubbermaid closet shelf unit cut in half and just bolted into the sides. And then this is electrical metallic tubing or metal conduit for electrical work. Basically just took some brackets that are made for electrical, hanging electrical conduit, and just bent them down like that and bolted them through the ends of these things. These are plenty strong. If we do have a problem with this, I'll just go up to the next size. I mean, I tested it with the weight. So then we have the shelving, which has 1 inch spacing available, so we can set the levels, put in about 3 rows of trays here, 3 different levels. And if you want to go up here, just put it here. And you could spend additional money and get that same stuff in a long enough length to fit in there. If you want to actually have a shelf, because this is very well protected. It's vinyl coated, so it's not going to rust. The other option is to get, they don't let you scrounge at the landfill anymore, but they used to. And you go through the refrigerators and pull out the wire racks, which are really, really strong, and they don't rust, and you can use them. And you can find them, I mean, they're still around. The water heating element is at this end, and the float is at that end, so the supply comes in. So I'm going to shut this door.
You said if you had to do it over, you'd make it deeper.
I would make the pan deeper. This is only a 20-inch width pan. I would probably make it at least 22. When I say depth, I mean this way. So that pan is only 20 inches from here to the back of it. If I make that pan bigger, this whole box is going to get bigger. So that's all.
Why did you find that you wanted it deeper?
There are trays in the world, in the big world of greenhouses, that I didn't know about. There's trays that actually are many different sizes. And I know what we had, the original one, so I just basically duplicated that. And, here's the old one. I'd be perfectly fine with sanding that down and making a second one if we needed one,
Yeah, we probably won't.
The important part of this whole operation is this.
So there's no reason for the hot water heater to come on. Temperature 72 already.
That's where the vacuum tube is. I think it's a 1 1/4 inch, and a piece of PVC pipe, and just a clamp from the Lowe's. It's made to do this. Some O-rings to make sure it seals against this Suptown top here, which is sort of a little step-down collar. This whole thing slips in there. And then you can shove that in there, and there's a hole through here, a hole there, and I just stick that like that. When it activates, it'll send the cool steam right through the, right through the thing and right through the tube, and it's just an ultrasonic humidifier. When you're filling it and walking away from it, you should fill it up, but it only has to have, 1 inch of water in it. So what we do is this thing, it looks very unsophisticated, but the water comes in here from the supply line that feeds the tub or the pan, comes off and comes up in here and comes in here, and then it feeds into basically a toilet float. I chose one called Corky because it was shorter. The one called Fluid Master is more common, but it's another few inches taller, trying to keep it below the height of this lip. You can see attached into the side of the bucket with an angle bracket and siliconed in through there and bolted. You can see the bolts. The supply line here is connected to the bottom of that thing there, where it normally would come in under the toilet tank, where you screw it in. So now I've just made a little, I bent it and put it onto this pipe and put a valve in here so that the supply water comes in, fills this bucket up, and this is fully adjustable. It will come up and down, so I can make that water like this high or overflowing if I want, but it can't overflow because it's gonna, I mean, it will overflow, but it's gonna overflow out the tube, and that tube is connected to the top of that there. So it'll, when it gets up to that high point, excess is gonna get into this tank. So that's basically how that, how that functions.
Essentially, between having this and the float valve, you don't ever have, this is not an everyday think about it thing. You want to monitor it, but it's not like you got to be checking it every day. It should be able to be on automatic pretty easy.
Why don't a few people come up here and I can just point out what's going on. That's where it comes up and comes in here, and this side is always on. Once that's plugged in, this side's always on. So that feeds our hot water element and our timer for the light. So this is the timer for the light, and that can be set. That's this one, and this goes to the thermostat, which is over here, the thermostat for the heating element. So that's adjustable from 130 degrees or 100 degrees down to 30, I think. And then this one is the humidifier plug, and that box is controlled by the little computer that's up here. And we can, right now it's reading 69% relative humidity. You can see it's changing. It's 69.42, 69.87. It's just jumping around. But when we turn the machine on, once you put this cover on, it comes up through the tube and just goes back in. It's all cool humidity, and that'll fill the chamber up. And I can adjust the relative humidity, and when it hits that point, it'll shut this off, and I have it start at 40 to go on. I probably don't even have to set it that low. It'll probably be, probably put it up higher, but that's where it's set. And you can do that range anywhere from 1 to 99. It will get funky, and you have to clean, take a mild soap and just clean some of this stuff off. Don't put anything like Clorox or anything in there. Don't do that. So just a mild soap, because you don't want that getting into the water.
You can use this system to cure your squash, cure your sweet potatoes. You can get the same kind of heat and humidity you need for those things too. So it could be multifunctional. My joke is if it was clean enough, you could proof bread. And right now it is. I should make a big old bag.
Yeah, right now that it's clean. And these, by the way, are the sensors here. These two, that's the temperature one on that side, and that one's the humidity one. And then that wire goes out, and the bulb, the end of that is the bulb for the heating element, and the control for that is back here. We do our adjustment from, somewhere between 70 and 95.
One of them the humidity and the other one the temperature.
That one controls how hot that water gets. But the humidity microprocessor has its own temperature control and its own humidity. That's how it references those two to give you the accurate reading.
It came to me the proper term for the tomatoes is healing chamber, not curing. It's a healing chamber. And the thing to know about that is if you read the directions for grafting, you want very modest light at first. So I might only turn one of these on and put the things as far away from it as I can get. But within a day, you can have it on for 18 hours and the plants will be fine. It's not nearly as strong as the sun, so 18 hours, even 21 hours would probably be fine. But at first, it starts out low if you're doing tomatoes.
While you're on the lights, what kind of lights are they? Just a standard forest?
Livonia wet weather high humidity lamp.
You couldn't just use a regular.
You can use it, it'll work, but it'll rot, it'll disintegrate the terminals at the ends and burn out eventually. And you also have a risk if something rusted and it dropped into the water, that wouldn't be cool. The fixture itself is $67. The bulbs themselves were $887 or something each one. But again, one of them is a low number Kelvin, like a 3000 K, and the other one is a high 6500 K. So between the both of them, you get a balanced broad spectrum light, which is important for the plants. Different manufacturers call it warm, and the other one's like cozy warm, and the other one's, woozy warm, fuzzy wuzzy warm.
Really cool.
Yeah, Arctic white. Yeah, exactly, because they want to brand their own bulb, and so that's confusing everything. So that's why they went back to the Kelvin, which is it just says K. It says 3000 K.
You were saying earlier, check them daily.
I I would check some things like brassicas twice a day, like in the morning and the evening, because they happen really fast.
If you wanted to leave them in there, though, would it affect the other ones that didn't emerge yet? If you pulled it right up against the light?
Yeah, no, not at all. No, you can have the light on. Like I said, the only thing that really cares that I know of, I'm sure there are other seeds that it really matters, but onions, it really matters that if you're going to have light in there, that you make sure you have plenty of soil on top. Some plants, and you can find like Seed to Seed by Susan Ashworth and Seed Star's Handbook by Nancy Buber. Both those tend to give you the information about what seeds need to have dark. You know?
Is this enough light, you think, so they won't get leggy? Because I have a lot of problem.
I think if you have this close to the light, if you're using this kind of lighting, is you are not using the sun, so you have them right next to the light.
Yeah.
So if you have them right next to the light, you won't have a problem with that. You know, but you don't want more than like an inch between your plants and your light if you're doing that. And with this adjustable shelf, you can do that. You know, you'll have to change it all the time if you're gonna leave them in there. I wouldn't use this as a grow chamber though. If I wasn't healing tomatoes that I grafted or something, I would find a way to put them out here and cover them if they needed more humidity rather than use this. You know, this is really designed to be a germination chamber, healing chamber, and that's about it. You know, it's just, the big reason is because you can't watch it. You know, out here you walk by every time you're seeing what's going on. In here, it's out of sight, and out of sight can be a bad thing for baby plants. You know?
How many shelves can you put in that?
I think you could probably fit even 4. You know where you get messed up? Is you put those markers on them and they'll all get knocked out as you're sliding.
Show them how thick the trays are. That'll give them an idea.
This is pretty narrow. You could fit a bunch of these in if you needed to. And by the way, when I was just trying to germinate stuff, and boy, do you have to watch it. I've just stacked them on top of each other. So, you know, as many stacked in there as I can get. But you got to watch those. You got to know, okay, put the slowest germinating ones underneath and the faster germinating ones on top. But come springtime, when we're trying to produce plants, man, we do all kinds of crazy stuff.
What's the line voltage remote bulb thermostat?
That's the bulb part, and the wire goes over here, and it's way back here in the back. It's a long, skinny thing that controls the hot water bath temperature. Each line is all the information, like Johnson controls and the specs on the voltage.
On the side?
Yeah, and on the very one at the end. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And then heating element bolt-on load.
That's in there. I'll take a picture. These handouts are put online, so I can just plug in the pictures of everything too. I can do that. Go ahead, keep on going.
All right, and then we know what the humidifier is, and then
Okay.
what is the where's your
The Wilhi. The Wilhi is basically the microprocessor, the miniature computer that is in this box. That black thing that we passed around that had all the spaghetti wires hanging out of it. That's the controller that tells that thing when to come on and when to come off by reading these 2 probes here.
If I got an ink bird, does it have the same size of box that?
No, you make this box. You buy a box at Lowe's in the electrical department, and you fit that little ink bird into the box.
Why do you need that box?
Because you don't want the humidity of this greenhouse affecting the. You don't want water dripping on it, because this will drip. See how that goes when the condensation happens. You don't want that going on the electrical circuit, so you have to put it in something protective. Everything has to be protected.
The ink bird or that other Wilhi, it mounts on the outside, and then you have a hole going through your
Right back here, and that goes where all the wires come through. That's those and this and this. Yeah, the ink bird or the Wilhi will be the same, basically the same thing.
mounted on the outside.
Right, and then there's a timer, the intermatic timer, which is basically like a yard, like a water lighting when you go out of town, or a water timer, or a Christmas light timer, anything will work for that. And the thing that I didn't tell you about, which is the ground fault circuit interrupter, which I think I really need to mention that. I'm going to be going in that corner now because that's where it is. Let me just get back in there. This is a pigtail ground fault circuit interrupter. An easy way to protect yourself, especially with wet ground and stuff. This is basically the same thing that's in your house in the bathroom. If you happen to touch a circuit that will electrify you, it'll shut that off. And it just measures the current coming in and measures the current going out. If you happen to, stick your hand in there and touch something, instead of shocking you, it's just going to shut everything off. This is an easy way to do it. It's called the pigtail.
And what was the general cost of this?
I asked for $280 to build this. And I'm going to bring a lot of stuff back. I bought stuff I didn't use, and I'm going to bring it back. So I would say, $250 to $300 maybe, something like that. And you don't have to get new everything. I mean, this is, I've got wood at home, like just as good as this. Maybe knock the nails out and use it over again. A lot of this insulation was reused. This stuff, that stuff, that stuff. The pan, I could have just sanded that down and used it again, but it's rust spots, so I didn't want to do that. The $75 pan, the insulation, $18 a sheet, so so it's 2 of those sheets. The 2 12-foot lengths of the plastic wood were $21 each. The humidifier is $54 or $59. The toilet float was $7. The little computer thing is $25. The intermatic timer is $24. The Johnson Controls thing is about $60. You can probably I know you can build one based on the temperature. There's a temperature version of the humidity controller that Wilhi makes, or that Ideal makes, that you could do the same thing with that if you bought a few other pieces to it. And then a lot of the expenses is just the purchasing of these cases, the piping, the wires, all that stuff adds up. It's not expensive any one thing, but that adds up to, at least $50 worth of stuff like that. And screws.
Valve, I think, was about 13, 14.
Yeah, that's about 15, 16 bucks. Yeah. Yeah, and then you've got bolts and hardware. That's expensive. The stainless, one stainless bolt of 1/4 inch size could be 45 cents, so you got 8 of those or 12 of those, so that starts adding up.
This is a very well-built one. You don't have to make nearly as good a one as this. And on the Veterans Healing Farm website, if you go to Veterans Healing Farm, John Massey has an old refrigerator with a crock pot in the bottom.
Yeah, right.
And that'll kind of do the same thing, though. He had to figure out how to shield the lowest plants because he was cooking them.
Going back to the wood treatment, what's the percentage or ratio of linseed oil to turpentine?
I've used 50-50 normally, because if you go over 50, there's not enough linseed oil. If you go under, it's okay, but it doesn't soak in as much, so you'll have to do a second application, which is actually better. If you have time, I would make a mixture of maybe 75 linseed and 25 turpentine, and then apply it, and then let it sit for a day or so, and then apply again. The turpentine just thins everything out, so it just goes deep into that wood, which is what you want. If you put just pure linseed oil on, it would protect it, but it may not go as deep in, unless you waited and put another coat on there.
You were going to show some of the fans.
Oh yeah, the fan, yeah. This is not applicable in this situation because our greenhouse is fairly humid anyway. By putting a fan at that end and hooking it up to another circuit that will read the ambient outside temperature, or not temperature, humidity, we can evacuate too high of a humidity in the chamber intermittently with the fan. It'll tell it, okay, now we're going to exhaust that humidity. Okay, but in our case, if we did that, it would just suck in more humid air. So there's no point in it. But if you put this thing, I'm just thinking about this for people, maybe on the website or something, for people who have a situation where they might be in a more arid climate, or maybe have it in their garage where the relative humidity might only be 40 outside in the air. And if for whatever reason they needed to drop this down from 95 down to say 60, you don't need an inlet because it'll just draw through the cracks. I mean, it's a slow thing. You don't want it to happen in 5 seconds. The trouble is when it evacuates humidity, it also pulls some of the heat out too. Although the humidity is going to get out sooner than the heat. So when you do that, you're going to be using up more energy because you're going to have this heating element come back on to try to make up for the loss of heat that it experiences. That's basically a little muffin fan that is similar to the style you see in an old type of tower desk computer, 110 volt.
When you're planting tomatoes, say in there, how long do you leave the light on?
Okay, so you don't plant tomatoes in here, okay?
I mean,
you germinate them. If you germinate them, the minute you see 10 or 15% coming up, you take them out of there.
Right, yeah. Well, that's what I
and
mean.
so you wouldn't need the lights on at all. The reason the lights are in there is basically for healing grafted plants.
Yeah.
You could, I guess, you were talking about wanting to leave tomatoes in. Maybe if you didn't have any place else that was warm, you might leave them in longer. Then you would leave the lights on, unless you were doing newly grafted plants, which can't have too much light. And you would only have like maybe one bulb on in each fixture for that. Unless you were doing that, you would leave them on for 18 to 21 hours. And you would have the plants that far, an inch away from the bulbs, if you don't want to have what you were talking about. I think the fancy term is isolate it, where they stretch for the light, because that's not the sun. It's not an ideal situation. They're going to be happier just in a greenhouse. But maybe you don't have a greenhouse. You could probably get away with using it that way. But you would have to pay attention. What I don't like about that is this is closed up and you can't see what's happening. I like to see my plants every time I walk by them.
You can put a window there.
You could put a window there. Yeah, that's not what we were designing, but you could probably take this that way and turn this into a grow chamber too.
Yeah. What you do with the window though, just gets so misty and condensed that
You wouldn't see anything anyways. You'd have to have windshield wipers, right?
You can see very clearly up here how I use the angle to join those. I butted them, I didn't overlap them because overlapping them would have changed the whole dynamics of how the insulation fit and all that stuff. So I had to butt them or make them flush on both sides and really bolt everything down up in the corners and then angle-wise for the two long pieces.
Them lead lights, LED lights, would they work there? I mean, there's one
They work, but you have to get the same values, like I said, the same K values in there.
And the LED grow lights are still way expensive.
Yeah, they're expensive.
They'll come down eventually, but right now they're pretty darn expensive.
Yeah.
Could you pull one of those tubes and show us that end?
I can't. The tube?
Go ahead.
No, the tube. I thought you meant. I was gonna say the light, because I have to take the whole.
No, not the. I'm
I take
sorry,
the top
no,
off.
just the conduit.
Yeah. This. One of our guys at the biochar coop did this for me because I asked him to. I was busy with something else. So what he did, I want to show you here. What he did, he popped a tack weld there. And I said, no, we can't do that. I mean, you can do it. It was great. If you have a welder, do it. But I said, I want everything in this project to be hand tools. No big fancy stuff. So he put a bolt through everything. So you don't even have to notice that. Sure. The bolt through there, and that is a conduit hanger. There's one pack. There's a 2-pack, and there's two things, and they look like little clips that grab the conduit. You see them it hangs from the ceiling. Okay. It just goes in a rack and then it pinches it. I just took those things and bent them and straightened them out. Straighten them, no, because they're actually, they look like that, and I just took and bent one end of it, so that's what that is. And those things cost 89 cents for 4 of them.
and I didn't get them free from that.
They're all over the place. We etched it with this is a special primer paint, self-etching primer that is actually.
By the way, there's no reason for this to be down. You can start this all the way down, right above the
I
water.
wanted to see it.
Put as many plants as you want. It doesn't have to be high up.
I wonder if you could use that for a dryer too.
For what?
For a dryer. The dry plants.
Oh, as a dryer? Well, you would have to
Get rid of water.
you'd have to come up with a different heat source because right now your heat source is a humidifier. It's water.
Well, you take the water out and heat your air.
Well, you wouldn't be able. You would burn out your elements, so you need a different. You have to put a little heater in there, but you could put a heater in there. Sure. That element is designed to be in water. It'll die.
Yeah, I understand that.
I had thought a bit about that, about not a water bath, but about an electric heater. But that would. You'd have to have a long time.
Maybe a heat mat.
Heat mat might work. Yeah. You could. If you put that fan here and got some heat source, you could turn this in. You could make one unit, especially if space was an issue, multifunctional. But you'd want to think seriously about it. You wouldn't want to use the wrong thing because you could start a fire or something. I once was showing another homemade grow table where you laid wires in gravel, and somebody walked in who was coming to my class and he said, I made one of those and just put the wires on a wooden shelf and burned my house down. So you really want to pay attention when you're working with electricity, that's making heat and stuff, and make sure you've designed something that's safe. You could do it, but you want to think about it. We haven't talked about how to do that here, so I don't know that I give recommendations. I think it could be done though, but I would definitely figure it out and run it by an electrician and make sure you're doing a safe thing.
Anything else? That's it. Then we wrap it up then.